Okay, well, thanks everybody for being here. This is our official second public meeting for Sanderson Gulch Park, Dog Park and Playground Project. I'm Chris Schooler. I'm the principal park PM on the project, and the folks you see on the screen are some of my cohorts with the city and our design team. We have prepared a little presentation here, kind of going over some of the questions we're trying to answer. If you go to the next slide, we do have Spanish translation being provided. If you need to do that, you'll have to go and enable it through the Zoom meeting. And there's directions there in the bottom right-hand side of this slide. We also have our interpreter, our Spanish interpreter, Diana Gerardo, who's with us. Thank you for being there. Thank you for helping us convey this information. Next slide, please.
And just 1 second, I'm going to go ahead and make that announcement in Spanish, and then somebody has to set me up as an interpreter to be able to have the two channels. Muy bien, entonces, gracias a todos por asistir. Esta es la sesión que vamos a hacer para el parque canino. También tenemos las personas que pueden ver en la pantalla, son las personas de la ciudad y del equipo de diseño. Entonces, hemos preparado una pequeña presentación para ustedes. Para las personas que necesitan esta presentación en español, en un segundo les va a aparecer un botón en donde pueden presionar el botón de español para que se pasen al canal de español.
Excellent. So we will reserve some time at the end of the presentation for questions and answers. We have both the chat, and then also you can be enabled through the hearing where we can turn you on if you want to speak, if you don't have the capacity to type or something like that. But again, we'll wait for that. We prefer for the end of the presentation. And as we mentioned, this is being recorded. And both in Spanish and in English, and these recordings will be provided access to through the Denver Parks and Recreation website. Next slide, please. So I mentioned from Denver Parks and Recreation, I'd like to acknowledge some of our senior staff, Gordon Robertson, Kathy Levesque, Craig Coronado, even saw Jeremy Hamer is on there from our drainage and wastewater team. So thank you all for chiming in. And then our design team, DHM, with Mark and Caitlin are also on the call, and they will be presenting most of the information. Next slide, please. Okay, this is where I kick it off. Over to Mark. Please take us away.
Great. Thanks, Chris. And thanks everyone for joining us tonight. I know your time is valuable, and this is a very important project for the city and county of Denver. And we're glad you're able to join us. I wanted to highlight our agenda for the evening so you have an idea of what we're going to be talking about. We want to start by talking about some initial goals for the project, what we'd like to achieve with tonight's meeting, and then overview some of the public process, the feedback that we've heard already from our first public meeting and our pop-up event at the dog park, or at the park site. Then we want to talk about some dog park amenities and furnishings and features, as well as review a few concepts and ask you some more questions and comments about what your thoughts are. And then talk about the next steps in the schedule and how the plans are going to progress. So for tonight's meeting, we wanted to just go over a couple goals. One is to look at how to configure the site to accommodate the dog park. There's also a playground component for the project. We are not going to talk too much about the playground tonight or the trail connections or picnicking, but rather in how they enhance and complement the use of a dog park. We want to review the opportunities for 2 different locations of the dog park within the park site, and hopefully determine a preferred dog park location. We will have some polls throughout the presentation to gain your feedback on what your preferences are for location, servicing, and amenity types. So as a recap, we had our first public meeting back in August, and we looked at why dog parks and site selection, and specifically why Sanderson Gulch Park. Why are we looking there? And you can see on this map on the right that there's in blue is showing a service gap area for dog parks in Denver. and how there's really not any dog parks that can serve this community. And then with Sanderson Gulch highlighted with the red circle to show kind of how that area is centered within that gap. We talked about site selection on what are some important criteria in the project overview, looking at the required conditions for a project, for a dog park, priority locations, additional considerations on what went into choosing Sanderson Gulch. And all this information has been recorded, and the presentation and the FAQs are on the Denver Parks website, as you can see at the bottom of the screen here. And this, as Chris mentioned, this recording will be on the Denver Parks website as well. We did have a survey that went out to the community, and we had 123 survey participants. This map shows an indication of where those respondents lived in proximity to Sanderson Gulch Park. You can see the larger the dot, the more respondents that live at those major intersections. So we have a lot of respondents within the 1 mile buffer of the park. The red dashed circle surrounding the black box is the black box being Sanderson Gulch Park. The red circle being the 1 mile buffer radius from the park. So most respondents are within 1 mile of the park. And here's some of the results from that initial survey on how often do you use the park. We have 25 of the 123 respondents use it daily, 26 weekly, 41 occasionally, 31 never. So quite a few of the respondents that use this park. How often when you use a dog park? We start seeing those numbers increase from not so much the dailies, but the weeklies and the occasionallys. The weeklies would increase, is our understanding from the poll surveys. And what's interesting is this next question we found is, how do you access the park? Where 80 of the respondents would walk to the park, another 15 would bike to the park. So quite a few people walk and bike to the park, with 51 of the 123 participants in the survey would drive. So it's a good indication to us that a lot of people use alternate means to access the park. And then we asked some other questions about features for the playground as we develop playground concepts, on what you would like to see at the playground. We see a lot of votes for the multi-tiered swings, nature play, climbing structures, slides. So we'll take all this feedback and incorporate these into designs for the playground as we begin to develop those designs for upgrading the playground space. We also looked at the dog park. What features would you like to see at the dog park? Natural shade was by far the most voted on feature. So we're looking at opportunities to introduce natural shade within the designs. Shade shelters coming in second, so shade being very important. And then we didn't see a preference in wood fencing versus chain link fencing, so we want to explore that with you some more tonight. And agility as well on what that looks like, any kind of agility amenities for the dog park. And this next slide, looking at locations for the dog park. You can see and orient ourselves to Sanderson Gulch Park. Arkansas Avenue is on the south. LaPan Street is on the east, Louisiana to the north. The playground is right off this image on the left border, with location A being at the bottom of the hill within that green lawn area. Location B being across the gulch into that corner of Louisiana and LaPan Street. The current feedback that we show here is 123 respondents from the initial survey, and then we had some additional follow-up discussions with community members on locations as well. So we had 127 participants in voting for the location. This is the current tabulation of those votes. So we'd like to discuss with you tonight to get your feedback to help develop a preferred location for the dog park site. Some general comments we heard were want to see shade and bench seating at the dog park. So it kind of confirms the survey results for the desire for shade and seating. There was a concern of open lawn diminishing due to the dog park, the reduction of the turf areas. And there is a shared concern regarding colored gravel dyeing the hair of the dogs. And we would like to see water source or a spigot in the dog park for water for the dogs. So on September 25th, we visited the site, set up a booth, so to speak, with some images of the dog park concepts and locations of A and B to better understand community preferences and to be available for any questions that you may have had. This graphic helps us to understand the size of each of the options, location A and location B. On the right, you see the size of a standard soccer field, regulation size soccer field of 81,000 square feet. The center slide has location A shown in a black dashed line on top of a soccer field to show scale and comparison. It's about 0.38 acres. And then the image on the right is location B at 0.43 acres. And then some existing dog parks within Denver are noted on the left. BARNUM Dog Park, 0.8 acres. Fuller Dog Park, 0.7. Rail Yard Dog Park, 0.6. And I'll have Caitlin discuss some of the amenities within the dog park.
So here we see two different options for amenities. So number one would be more of your standard agility course options. So you have steel and plastic. And then number two option would be more of a natural theme for your agility amenities. So more of your logs, your boulders. And in terms of maintenance, number two, the natural theme with the logs, those would require replacing every so often, as opposed to option one, where there'd be a little less maintenance required. So we'd love to get your feedback and have you take a poll here and see which theming you would like to see for the dog park. And I also thought I'd mention the amenities are not dependent on the location. So you could have either one or two in either location.
And we'll take a minute here to allow everyone to vote, and then we'll show the results.
For the record, hosts and panelists cannot vote.
So it looks like natural was the winner here. So more of that boulder and log style, which is great to hear. So thank you all for voting. And then this slide, we're just talking about different fencing options. So number one, you see a more standard chain link fence, which is vinyl clad fencing. And then number two is your wood fence with welded wire mesh within that. So just trying to determine what style you all would like to see at the dog park. So we'll have another poll here for you to vote on. Okay, so it looks like wood is the winner for this one, which is really helpful. So again, thank you all for voting.
Capture complete.
And then lastly, these are just some other amenities that could be found at the dog park. So you have your dog waste option, and then a standard bench, and then a water source for the dogs as well. So.
And at this point, we want to look at location A and location B, and then we'll take a vote once we review a couple concepts. This is a map showing just the locations of both options, and we'll see three concepts. Concepts 1 and 2 are both for location A, the difference being the playground configuration and how that interacts with the dog park. And then concept 3 is for location B. So location A shows the dog park with the low energy dog area, the high energy dog. The access to the dog park is off the existing sidewalk that goes up to the playground. With this concept, we stop the sidewalk and we have a separate sidewalk access to the playground, separate from the dog park. We wanted to keep the dog park away from the sledding hill on the north side. So to orient everybody, Arkansas Avenue is on the bottom of the screen here, right here. Lipan is off to the right side, and then Louisiana is at the top of the screen. So we would have a separate sidewalk access to the playground that comes up through the blue area into these different feature areas that you see in the legend. And these are all program elements in the playground that came out of the initial survey that we had. We are continuing to develop designs for the playground, and our planning we'll see in the next steps to meet with Gosman Elementary School children, the students there, to talk about what they want to see in the playground. And then with this option, it allows us to create some programming up in the upper right corner for walk connections, maybe a smaller picnic area with tables, maybe a shelter, and a little bit of lawn area to activate this upper northeast corner. We'll have the sidewalk continue through and improved that connects the north and the east side of the Gulch. We have these pockets of natural shade that can be seen introduced along the edges of the dog park as well, with some bench seating around those. There's about a 100-foot buffer between Arkansas and the dog park. So there's a little bit of buffer there to maintain that green space and that open space between the adjacent residences. These are some 3D views of the concept. Arkansas is along here. Lipan is off to the side with Louisiana to the top, to the north. So you can begin to see how this might look with some trees, with scale, proportions, with fencing, as the site begins to be developed within this conceptual model. This is another view from Arkansas, looking up this is the existing sidewalk. So looking up the existing sidewalk to the entrance to the dog park. And with the playground and the colored shapes to the left. So concept 2 is location A as well, same location for the dog park. What we looked at here was maintaining the existing sidewalk connection to the playground. We moved the dog park access off of the main trail by the Gulch, as you see over here, and we shifted everything a little bit further to the north by maintaining this this sledding hill on the north side of the project. And then again, activating the northeast corner of the park with more passive programming. And here's some 3D images of how that might look. Concept 3 is location B, where we have the dog park in the northeast corner. The blue line is symbolic of the floodplain line, so we cannot develop any other dog park within the floodplain. We need to maintain all improvements outside of that dashed blue line. And so we have our low energy dog park, our high energy dog park here, and fencing around the existing trees, as well as addition of new trees for shade, natural shade throughout. We do have access to the dog park off of Louisiana in the corner of Lipan over here. And then with the playground, we're able to maintain the open lawn and a lot of the play features that you see within the bubbles that you see here. So this is location B of the dog park. And then these are all the same views in the 3D model. So it shows what that would look like from the residents off of Arkansas. So analysis of both locations, and then we're going to take another poll to gain feedback on your preferred location. Location A is close proximity to the playground and the other park activities. So we're kind of clustering all the programming together. It's easy access to the residential neighborhood to the south and to the west. It's outside the floodplain. It's more visible. It also reduces the green space some. Location B is further from the playground and the other park amenities. It's further from the residential homes. It does have more natural shade with the matured trees within the floodplain. It's less visible. It maintains the open lawn by the playground without impacting that. And it's adjacent to the floodplain. And with that, Jesus, I think we're ready to open the poll.
Give me 1 second. I'm unable to see the poll on my end. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Zoom, but it's just not allowing me to launch the final poll. Sorry, I'm not sure why.
Jesus, that's okay. Why don't we continue the presentation, and then at the end we can have people, or if Mark, you prefer people now to just put it in the chat, we could do that.
Yeah, Molly, are you okay monitoring the chat for the feedback and the votes? Great.
Sure.
So let's put in the chat your preference on location, A or B.
As long as people know it won't be anonymous, so we won't judge you. But it is important, I think, that we get your feedback on this. So this is a very important point of this meeting. So if you guys don't mind lending your voices to your answers, that would be really beneficial to the project.
And we'll give it a minute or so. And Molly, as I talk about schedule and next steps, and if you can kind of tally those up and let us know. So our next steps are, as you see here, later in October, we are meeting with the Godsman Elementary students to charrette on the playground to have a better understanding of the kids that live in the neighborhood on how they play and how they would like to play at Sanderson Gulch Playground. And we're developing some concepts, some precedents to gain feedback from them and have a charrette style with the students. And then later in 2021, we have not set a date yet, but we're going to schedule a public meeting number 3 to review the playground concepts and to update the community with the results of the dog park as well. But that meeting will focus on the playground concepts to talk more about how the charrette went with Godsman Elementary and some options to consider for that. December through March, we're hoping to develop final designs that can be used to bid the construction work and put it out for bid in the spring, summer of 2022 with construction to follow shortly after. Those are kind of our next steps and our schedule for the project. Molly, are you able to see some results there?
Yeah, I can chime in. It looks like the majority of people do prefer option B over option A. Thank you for those that lended their opinions. It's definitely not done and sealed, but it really does. This is a big debate of this project. So I appreciate you guys lending your voice to the question.
Yes, thank you. So with that, we'd like to open it up for questions that you might have for us in our team. And I think Chris, I think we're handling questions through chat, correct? Or if you can raise your hand on Zoom and
yeah, because Jesus isn't, his Zoom has crashed on him. Chris and I will try and unmute people. If you do have questions, right now we've gotten no questions into the question and answer part. If you guys do have some, we would love it. Or if you want to just voice your opinion about the locations and the concepts, we would also love to hear from you guys. So we'll give you a minute. Paula, I see that your hand is raised. Let's see. Chris, is it possible? Can you unmute her? I don't think I can.
No, I don't. All I see is the ability to give her a chat.
I apologize, Paula. If you want to put your comment in the chat so we all can see, we would love to. Without Jesus, we can't seem to elevate people to speak. I apologize. Anyone else have questions? We heard about the, Dylan, I see your comment about the beautiful mature trees. And I think that's why you included option B, which I think is a large consideration for this, even though Mark, do you want to talk about some of the landscaping that we may have available for option A as well? Because we do show landscaping there.
Right. So one thing to clarify with these drawings, the darker, what I call olive green color, those are the existing tree canopies that are on the project. And you can see in option B, we have the fence around the existing multi-stem tree here to protect it. The lighter and brighter colored circles are proposed trees that you see. So we would add a few more on option B. Option A shows, in this case, we had a stronger buffer between the dog park and the playground, but we would have newly planted trees, quite a few of them scattered along the west and the southern boundaries of the dog park to provide that natural shade. So we're hoping to get as much natural shade as we can within both options.
Yeah, and of course, this meeting did just focus on the dog park because we really did want to nail down the location. As Mark mentioned, we're working with Godsman Elementary to nail down some of the details and themes of the playground. But thank you to everyone who filled out our initial survey. That gave us a really good sense of what the neighborhood is prioritizing. So we really appreciate that. Paula, I see your question. She said she currently goes to Englewood Canine Coral. They have a dog waste recycle program and provide special bags. Any thought about doing something like that? Also, what is the area of the Central Park location? Oh, the area of the dog park. I can look up the area of the dog park. Well, Chris, do you have any thoughts on the providing special bags? I'm not sure what that program is.
Yeah, I mean, we have, our rangers are equipped with extra bags that give them out to folks. And there certainly will be both trash receptacles and possibly recycling capacity through our maintenance group. So these are all programs that we've been working on. So this park will continue to be serviced, if not even possibly getting a higher level of service with the new added programming. As far as any specialty recycling programs, it's something that we can possibly do some research into and see what it takes. Yeah, thanks for that suggestion. We can look into how Englewood deals with their dog parks. And then I just also want to reiterate that this presentation, as well as the recording of the meeting, will be posted on the Denver Parks and Recreation website for more and interaction if people want to look at it or share it with other neighbors that weren't able to attend the meeting tonight. We are on a time schedule. We have a shorter window. I mean, the window's getting shorter, I should say. We'll continue with this process. The goal is basically to develop what we call a preferred plan. It's the best of the options that we've gotten, from feedback from our maintenance crews, our rangers, all of our neighbors, the people that participated in the community engagement process. All that information will be taken into account when we kind of move forward with our preferred concept. The next step after that is that we would begin to develop our technical drawings, as Mark mentioned a little bit earlier, and then we go through a very technical review process internally to vet the plans and make sure that the construction documents have, the best up-to-date details and specifications for how the project gets built.
So I also want to go back to the question, sorry if I'm interrupting someone, about how big is Central Park Dog Park. It's one of our bigger ones. So it is just a smidge smaller than 3 acres. But in our system, obviously, this is a smaller, dog parks come in all shapes and sizes. And we have anywhere in our system from like 0.2 acres and then up to, I think our largest, it may be that one, is our Greenway. Yeah, well, yeah. So Lowry is the largest at 4.1, it looks like. But we do have a range there. So
Yeah,
yes.
and to back up on that, you know, this dog park is intended to be more of a neighborhood level. You know, it's less than 1/2 of an acre. It's much, much smaller. It's not something that we anticipate people are going to drive, you know, from across town to go visit. This is really intended to service the area of the city that's there in the southwest.
Yeah, and at our last public meeting, I know someone else asked about just dog park amenities like the bags. And I just wanted to point out that some of our dog parks do have a volunteer group associated with them where volunteers supplied bags. And not only that, volunteers really help maintain the dog park, make sure that people are picking up after themselves, things like that. And we've seen a lot of success with neighborhood volunteers doing that. So that's just another option there, depending on what you guys want in your neighborhood. So with that, I'm going to give it another minute or two for people to chime in on the chat. I sincerely apologize for our technical difficulties. We're just worried if Jesus restarts or leaves the Zoom that he'll end the meeting. So I apologize that I couldn't allow those of you who wanted to speak. But if you have any other comments or questions, we would love to hear them. Again, thank you so much for joining us tonight and for just your enthusiasm and input into this project. We really appreciate it.
I'll say one more thing. We did anticipate Councilman Joel Clark to attend. He was not specifically able to be part of this meeting. But we have been in communication with his office and they've been very helpful as far as like getting information out and helping us communicate with the community.
Yeah, and Tate Carpenter is on. Yeah, so thanks Tate for being here. Gordon, do you have any last words?
This has just been a long time coming. Council District 7 has been requesting a dog park for a long time. It's exciting to see that we're this far along, and the future dog park will be here soon. So this is great, and thank you all for coming tonight.
Well, with that, I think we can end the meeting. Of course, if you guys have any questions, I'm going to put go ahead and put my email in the chat here. And you can always feel free to contact myself about the project. Other than that, have a great night.
Thanks all for coming in.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.